Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today. Now I made this video a week or two ago, the mind-bending Sphinx temple, and it produced a lot of questions, and some people seemed pretty interested in this, and I thought this would be a good time to do a follow-up video for this. And I think it's kind of the responsibility of YouTube channels to share other channels that have good videos. And I have been following Carlos's channel here for about a year, and he has videos of John Anthony West on his tours of Egypt and the temples, places such as Saqqara, Dashur, Temple of Isis, Karnak, Luxor, Abu Simbel, all the places you can imagine. John Anthony West is leading tours, and Carlos has videotaped lengthy videos, and I just really like these videos, and I talked to him, and he gave me permission to upload part of a clip from his John Anthony West in the Sphinx Temple video right here. I will leave the link for this full video below, and I will leave a link for Carlos's channel. I'm sure many of you will want to sub this, and thanks to Carlos for letting me upload this video clip I'm going to show you right now. But some questions, and he talks to an architectural engineer about what we could do today as far as replicating the Sphinx Temple and the difficulties we would have, and I just think this is very interesting, and it gives you a peek at John Anthony West tours, and I know a lot of you are fans, so I'm just going to be quiet. I don't have a lot of time for videos these days for a lot of reasons, but here is a video for you right now, John Anthony West at the Sphinx Temple.
Back in the 70s, or somewhere around there, early 70s, maybe even 60s, the weather, whatever the people are who test for water levels, you know, water table levels, were doing a test here, and they drilled down. They were checking, I guess, something of the sort, taking core samples, whatever, and they drilled down here and got down, I think, 22 meters, so that's 70 feet, and hit a piece of granite. That is significant because only granite in Egypt comes from far to the south in Aswan. So they hit a piece of granite, and they think now, because you see this excavation stuff here is relatively recent, and they think that's part of an old harbor that stretched from the Nile to here. I'm not sure of that. But the granite is interesting because it means that either, if this were a harbor, something fell off into and the harbor, I mean, it's 22 meters, so it's deep. So something is there, or it's part of a structure that's that deep, which would really be significant. I mean, that would be a major discovery. Evidence that we have from ancient Egypt. Vast. You see, when you get to the museum, all the tools and everything that they have, if they had some kind of high-tech devices, you would think that you'd have some kind of evidence for it, and we don't. So it's another one of the, you know, the innumerable mysteries that surround all of these things. And the deeper, it's kind of fun, actually. I mean, I don't mind. This is the thing with academics. Academics hate a mystery the way that nature abhors a vacuum. They if they can't, they have to explain it. And even if they can't just let it be and say, "Hey, we don't know, guys." You never hear. How often do you ever hear a scientist or a scholar say, "I don't know"? Not much. Because there are reasons for that too. I almost feel compassion for them. You know, I'm not long on compassion, but let's face it, it's not very glamorous. They don't get paid very much. Their egos are bound up. Are bound up in being experts. And along comes somebody like myself. Shock's not so bad because he's got all his PhDs and stuff. But somebody like me, from out of left field, saying, you know, you're all wrong. Everything you've thought and worked for 30 years doing has to be rethought. They don't really like you very much for that. And
this is mind-blowing to me here.
I told you.
Yeah?
There's a couple things I see, which we can't do now.
Of course.
Basically. Well, one, you should all look down this line of columns.
Oh yeah, right.
Okay?
Oh my God,
they're-
look, it's a line that.
I mean, I've been looking at these kinds of things for years. This is within about an eighth of an inch. All of them lined up. We can't do that.
Of course.
We still can't.
We can't do
Wait till you see tomorrow.
Are you serious?
And is this mortar here?
They had infinite money.
Yeah, but that doesn't hold anything together. That's just so they can slide
We
the blocks in.
can't. We can't do that.
Oh, really?
Okay?
You can't even do
So,
that?
so the stone is, granite's not absorbent.
Right,
But it's
no, not at
warm.
all.
You put it in the sun, it gets hot. You
Right.
put anything with a liquid on it, it dries.
Right.
So, and they have it on at least two sides, right?
Right. Yeah.
And if it gets too thick, it pulls the block apart.
Mm-hmm.
If
Right.
it's thin, there's a void.
Mm-hmm.
If you slide one on the other, it pushes it all,
Oh. Yeah.
right? Like a scraper.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this has to be moved into place, like just
Levitated.
Lord, yes, levitate.
Yeah. Really.
We don't have technology for this.
That.
And the other thing is that they're obviously able to make a level line,
Yeah.
and they can make a straight line, but like I think this line isn't straight, okay?
No.
No, it's not perfectly straight.
Oh yeah. Right.
That means they made this how many ton block?
Yeah.
And they made
Lots of
this
time.
ton block
Right.
organically fitting together like this.
Yeah, they do that.
Okay? And they
Right.
didn't lift this up 20 times and fit it
No.
and say, does it work? No, let's take it down and chip
Right,
a little
right,
more. How
right.
did they do that?
Right. Actually, we'll see even more dramatic
Blows
ones
my
of that
mind.
in a
And
second.
the real
when
question
we
is,
go
why are
around.
they doing this all over the world? You can go to Peru, you can
Yeah.
go all over the world and find these megaliths, and they do these
It's a
same
message.
kinds of
It's like,
things.
we can do this.
Oh.
It's up to you
Or
to
maybe it's
understand.
the only thing that will survive a cataclysm. And they know that they have repeating cataclysms, and they want to leave something
They
to
have
survive the next cataclysm.
What they're showing is they have a choice. They have a choice to do this any way they want to.
Yeah,
do,
that's right.
And they've chosen this.
Yeah, yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
They don't have to make that block
That's right.
6 pieces. They can make it perfectly square.
Sure. You know, so with the Sphinx theory, the geologists are fine. You know, the astrophysicists don't have a problem with it. The organic chemists couldn't care less. But for the archaeologists and the Egyptologists, it's hot in here. So
John,
you can appreciate
is
that.
this structure the same chronology as the Sphinx? Was it?
The core masonry would be. See, the core masonry, those are the blocks that came out of the Sphinx temple when they
this was
required
built
to
in
expose.
conjunction.
Almost certainly it was built in conjunction,
And
yes.
do you know what the purpose of this structure
No.
was?
Nope. I mean, it's supposedly where the pharaoh's body was prepared for burial in the pyramid, which shows no evidence of a burial. So nobody knows. Nobody has. So let us go down. One more thing I wanted to go just around the corner of the Sphinx and address some of the things that John was talking about. Where's John? Right here. That John was talking about construction techniques, and you see how the blocks have been married to the. They went to a lot of trouble not to cut them off any more than they could, but to marry the granite to the limestone. You'll see. Well,
Oh. Well, yeah, you can see here. Like,
Right.
Oh, wow, that's complex.
yeah. And anyhow, where's John? Oh, there he is, over there. Yeah. So
He's having a
now
good time.
this is when we were doing the video. We went to again Boris, enterprising guy, and he found that we wanted to address this thing of could we do this today? This specifically this wall here, and they were building in Long Island a cogeneration plant with boilers that weighed 200 tons. And they had the biggest land-based crane in the world could lift the 200 tons. But we posed the problem to the project manager, who was very fascinated by the whole thing. He said, "Yeah, you know, when you pick, that's the technical term, heavy loads, we like to see how other people did it." So we showed him, a good photograph of this, and he looked at it, and he was astounded. He looked at it, and he said, no. He said we could lift those blocks. These are probably 75, 100, 125 tons, but we wouldn't know how to rig them to get them in place with these joints like this. And so, and then moreover, that to make their pick, they needed a gang of I forget, a few dozen men, and they had to, I don't understand why it took them that long to do it, but they needed to prepare for 6 weeks to lift this one boiler. So here, and the crane itself had to throw, you see those great huge high cranes that can, pick something here and deposit it way over there, but those are relatively lightweight things. They'll take 10, 15, 20 tons. For a crane that could lift 100 tons, it has a real stubby thing with a huge counterweight at the back, and it can only move at 60 feet. So if these things come from the inside of the Sphinx enclosure, with modern machinery, it would take years to get these stones over to where they are, and then they wouldn't know how to get them up into place. So this is where the whole Sphinx theory, and you see how dangerous it gets for the Church of Progress, whose central dogma, the unchallengeable, it's like the virgin birth in Catholicism, that we're the most advanced people that ever were. And here, not only is there the most spectacular sculpture on earth, but also the temples around it are constructed with the technology that we can't reproduce. Probably if it were important enough to us, we would figure out a way. We can go to the moon. We could probably do it if we wanted to. But the fact remains that we can't do it, and we don't know how they did it. So this opens up all kinds of interesting possibilities. The only one that I'll just do this briefly, the only one that the quackademics will accept is that, it was primitive technology, used skillfully. And that sounds ridiculous when you look at what's in front of your nose there. But when you look at it face to face, as I said earlier, that it's one thing to read about it, and you look at pictures and you say, okay, that's pretty impressive. But there we are in front of these things, and they did it. And you look at some of the jointing. Some places, maybe earthquakes or something, have separated the blocks a little bit. But if you look at some of them, you see that the jointing is as good. When you take a knife and you go a little bit back, the jointing is as good as it is on those granite blocks inside. There's zero tolerance. It's breathtaking, and once you see it, you tend to be as contemptuous of modern academics as I am. Because a lot of people think, oh, come on, you're really extreme. But when you see what they're not addressing, you realize what frauds they are. Basically, this is. I mean, if academic malpractice were a crime, those guys would not be walking around loose.